Hello there, and welcome to the Pop Culture Cult's new show, The Rebel Files. I'm Sean.
And I'm Yoshi.
And
Here's my nickname.
it is.
I'm Josh.
You can use either one. It's okay around here. We call him Yoshi all the time, or Yosh, because Yoshi's so hard to say.
I know.
This is our Star Wars show, hence all the Star Wars stuff. And we're going a little old school with our notes tonight. This should be interesting.
Hard copy? How dare you?
Hard copy. It's the future, I'm telling you.
There's a tree on Kashyyyk screaming.
I'll use it more than once. Probably
That's
not. This is a Star Wars news show where you're going to talk about the news of the week. And then we're going to do a separate show for like just some discussion stuff. But one of the things we asked from those who are watching is please subscribe to the channel. Hit the little button up there wherever it's at. Hit the bell for notifications because we're doing all kinds of different things here on the Pop Culture Cult outside of the Star Wars show, like seeing Bumblebee.
Yeah, I hate you for that, by the way. Small amount. I'll see it in a week.
I have little Transformers I got from the premiere.
So
it was awesome. It's sci-fi. It counts, right?
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
They've crossed universes in a couple of comics.
Yeah. They weren't very good. But so that we have not a whole lot of news this week because we have talked about this. It's the end of the year, and so it's starting to run a little dry. We'll get some more stuff after the first of the year, and we've kind of squeezed all the juice out of the lemon that is The Mandalorian for right now.
Yeah, I think for right now. I think we'll probably see some stuff change over the beginning of the year once the film crews get back on, done with their families and get back to work. Yeah. So we'll probably see some, I don't know, New Year's parties, New Year's broadcasts. We might see some stuff trickle out over those.
Something might happen. I'm not holding my breath, but we'll see. But this last week, we got an announcement that Timothy Zahn's next book in the Thrawn series, Zahn doing Thrawn, is like everybody has a hard time with it, so it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be called Thrawn Treason. Now, I've read the first two books. Have you read the first two books?
No, I'm still back in the expanded universe when Timothy Zahn saved Star Wars, and now he's got to kind of recon everything for Thrawn.
I actually have a signed copy of Heir to the Empire over there somewhere from Timothy Zahn.
Such a good book. Such a good book.
But the Thrawn series has been really good. The first one was how Thrawn became part of the Empire and how he got to the point of commander, not admiral, but commander. The second book was about him and Anakin and him and Vader doing missions together, which was a really interesting storytelling point where you have the past with Anakin and the current with Vader and them going back and forth with that story. It was really kind of interesting. Very slow, very methodical, very Thrawn. So the new book is coming out this summer. It is now going to be, it's called Treason. And the description is this. Now that Thrawn's TIE Defender program has halted in favor of Director Krennic's secret Death Star project, he realizes that the balance of power in the Empire is measured by more than just military acumen and technical efficiency. Even the greatest intellect can hardly compete with the power to annihilate entire planets. As Thrawn works to secure his place in the Empire hierarchy, his former protege, Eli Vanto, returns with a dire warning from Thrawn's homeworld. Thrawn's mastery of strategy must guide him through an impossible choice. Duty to the Chiss ascendancy or fealty to the Empire that he swore to serve, even if the right choice means committing treason. Roll credits.
Now you've read the first book. I read
both of the first books.
Yeah, I didn't have the time to read it. There's too many books coming out, and it's just one of those things I just haven't had the opportunity. Now we know that he was obviously active in the TIE Defender program during Rebels.
Right.
That was a huge aspect, obviously, with some of their sabotage work that they did on him.
Right.
So from your end, what's that timeline? Is it actually taking place during that era or a little after? Obviously not after.
The TIE Defender stuff happens right after Alliances, which is the Anakin. He's just kind of talking about the TIE Defender stuff in Alliances.
Okay.
This, though, puts it right between, in the middle of season 3 and 4, or in the middle of season 4 of Rebels. So I'm interested to see how they're going to do this. Once he figures out that he can't do the TIE Defender thing, and the Death Star with Krennic and everything is going on, is shortly thereafter that the Purgles grab him and Ezra and take him to the Outer Rim, or to unknown space. It doesn't really say either way, but so it's going to be a very like a one specific time period within the series of Rebels. So we're already getting the Krennic references, so I'm expecting them to have references to the Ghost and Syndulla and all of that, and
we might even get, just as a measure of tie-ins, as a new book,
right?
We might start seeing some references to Cassian and
you could,
some of his early era stuff, and maybe that organization. So realistically, when you look at Zahn, like Thrawn's his baby,
right?
He's pretty much the guy who created the character. He took it through its primary, post Return of the Jedi evolution,
right?
And now he's got to retcon kind of pre-Star Wars Battle of Yavin. So I mean, honestly, it's in good hands. And not having had the chance to read the books, I'm looking forward to them, because it does take a character that had this great depth of scope,
right?
And he's
refashioning
different. Him a little bit.
He's different now. He's more modernized and stuff from what the Heir of the Empire series was, but his character within the books is very methodical and slow, and so the books reflect that. And so there's times where it can be a struggle to get through. They're not my favorite books in the new canon of literature, but they are books that I really, really like, especially with because of the tie-ins to what could be coming with the Outer Rim stuff and the Chiss Ascendancy, and the connections in the second book with Anakin and Vader. I love that storytelling. They had parallel stories going on at the same time, and one chapter was about Anakin, and one chapter was about Padme, and then one chapter was about Vader, and Thrawn was a connective tissue through all of it. So it was really well done. But this one, the timing is going to be really interesting. I don't want them to mess with the timeline too much.
No,
you could do a little bit of fudging with the timeline, but if you're going to talk about the end of the TIE Defender stuff, we know the Ghost shows up at the Battle of the Battle of and it's not Yavin. Scarif. Thank you. The Battle of Scarif. We know that all happens right towards the end of Rebels. So it's going to be in that time period, which is cool. But then I'm wondering if that connects with bringing both Thrawn and Ezra back because of Eli Vanto. So in the first book, Eli is his interpreter, who then ends up being his protege because he spoke the same language that Thrawn did. And so as Thrawn advanced, he brought Eli along with him. At the end of that book, spoilers if you haven't read it, but there's a lot more stuff that happened in that book. But instead of Thrawn going back home to help the Chiss Ascendancy, he sends Eli. And the Chiss Ascendancy is outside the scope of the Empire. It's in the Outer Rim. It's in unknown space. So if you're going to have that story, and we know that all the other stuff's going on, so so there's a lot of connective tissue in there. So I'm really interested to see how that all works out. The second story that came out this week on the literature side was Star Wars Marvel. So Marvel does their Star Wars run. Some of it's been really, really good. I have the first 13 of the Star Wars series. I have the first trade paperback of the Vader. Both are really, really well done. They did Poe that just came to an end. They did Kanan. They've done a whole bunch of different things. They're going to do this 5-issue short run about Darth Vader called Vader Dark Visions. And the description is where did it go? There we go. Dark Visions will take readers to the darkest parts of the galaxy, places where a mysterious anti-hero known as Darth Vader can be someone's greatest fear and even someone's greatest hope.
Yeah, so that harkens,
that's interesting.
It is, and when you get into some of those stories, you get, Night Sisters. You get the Dathomir connection. You get those civilizations that did idolize him to a degree. You know, he was the fallen son, essentially. And I think, I don't know if we were going to put a picture up of the cover to that later,
I
but
will bring it up, yeah.
you got to check out the cover. It's exceedingly Frank Frazetta.
It's so cool.
It's awesome.
I'm worried that part of the problem I have with all the legend stuff is there was some really obscure stuff where it was like almost fan fiction. We've talked about that in the past, where it was cool, but it was so outside of the Star Wars bubble that you're just like, this, at least from the cover and this description, kind of comes across as a Darth Vader horror series, which is fine. I think it's cool. But then again, you're messing with the overall canon and the overall story. If you're going to have everything is connected, you have this kind of story. I'm interested how they play that within the...
You know, it might not... I don't know if it's necessarily going to affect canon. I think if they take it, what they might do is kind of one of those similar tropes they did kind of back in the 80s, where you take one lead character and you have tales of the such and such.
Right.
And they were like micro stories, you know,
Right.
that really kind of delved into these little 2-day, 1-week adventures, you know,
Right.
of these characters. But because Vader always has kind of this dichotomy to his nature, I think it's great territory to play with, because there was always that struggle in Anakin. You know, you always saw those long pensive moments where he was kind of obviously fighting with himself.
Right.
So, you know, one's man terrorist is another man's hero type of a thing.
Right.
So what cultures idolize that aspect about him versus what just seemed as the true evil? Where's the middle ground?
Right.
So it might actually be an interesting way to see him play out.
The one of the things I did think about, though, is they did a book, and it was called The Legend of Luke Skywalker, and I think that's what it's called. And it is actually stories of Luke, about Luke, as like told like second or third hand. So they're the legend of the character, not necessarily what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you do that kind of thing with Vader, the horror of Vader, it would be kind of an interesting kind of spin on it and stuff. So, and the last news story we have this week, like we said, not a lot of news. Kevin Smith is an ass. He spent a week on set with J.J. Abrams for Episode 9. Again. And he talked about the set is gigantic. He saw somebody give their best performance of their career. He talked about he heard some plot details. It's going to be really good. The scope of everything is gigantic. They're still a year out from it being out, but it looks awesome already. So that means a lot of practical stuff. But everybody's kind of been climbing on to the story of the person who somebody has seen in the movies before gives a career best performance. Made me roll a tear. So, somebody
who is it?
So who is it? Is it Mark? Is it Daisy? I'm gonna go with Daisy for right now, but
okay, bold, but it makes sense. It ties in. He has he was obviously on Episode 7's set.
Right.
That being stated, I don't thought her performance was that great in Episode 7. I mean, because she was still relatively new. She was an established character.
Right.
I think it's got to be one of two. Obviously, it's not going to be Leia, unfortunately, because they're going to do obviously do that post-production. I'm probably going to say either Yona, who plays Chewbacca, because I think that one would kind of
be interesting.
link in. I would have to say Mark Hamill, but even his role still kind of debated as to like what it's going to be. Or Lando. You know,
Billy D. One of the things I heard today that people were talking about.
I think he's kind of at that phase in his life with his passion to Star Wars and everything else, and obviously the death of Leia, the death of Carrie Fisher, all their friends.
Right.
For him, he strikes me as probably the one who's going to bring that to be unexpected, especially if you have Kevin Smith, diehard Kevin Smith, who's hung out with these guys, knows them, goes, and drops his jaw at a performance.
Yeah,
I'm leaning it might be Billy D.
As much as I love Adam Driver, he killed it in BlacKkKlansman, so he's at a level right now of acting that I think the rest of the cast is not at, which is fine. He's still really
barring
good.
The original cast.
Oscar Isaac is that way too. He's
phenomenal.
Both of them are great actors.
Phenomenal.
I really feel that Mark Hamill's performance in Last Jedi was award worthy. Whatever that award, Golden Globes or Oscar, at least have it in the conversation it ever was, because it's a Star Wars and not really people pay attention to that kind of stuff. And it's Mark Hamill. You don't put Mark Hamill in for an Oscar. It just doesn't happen. Right. But I like the Daisy Ridley because having her now, this is her 7th or 10th film or something like that. She still doesn't have a whole lot of credits, but she's comfortable with the character. She knows where she's going and stuff like that.
Yeah, she owns it now.
She is Rey. Rey is her kind of thing. So I like that idea, but I love the Billy D. Williams thing. I love him being the emotional anchor for the entire movie and being there for everybody.
Especially you got to figure his situation. We haven't heard from him within the first two of the recent trilogy. So, he might be out doing whatever it is that Lando does, smuggling, running a club, something, who knows. To come back into a picture, find out, Han's dead from his son's hand. Leia's passed on, because I'm imagining they're going to bring him in at some point after Leia's passing in the movie. Only to be like him and Chewie left. Yeah. Luke's dead. All his primary friends are dead, and he's just kind of like, what now? Yeah. He's one of the last survivors. And I'm sure he's got to feel some guilt over that. Yeah. As a character.
I didn't answer the call when it was given, and
I
don't know what happened to my friend and stuff. Yep, I get that. So that's the news this week in Star Wars. Star Wars news. We got to come up with like a big banner or something going on. And we will do more news stuff as it comes along, but like I said, it's dry right now. So what do you guys think of the news for Star Wars? Let us know in the comments. Like this video. I've already told you to subscribe. I'm going to tell you again until you start doing it.
Keep doing it.
And all of our social media information is in the description. And until the next time, may the Force be with you always.